You know, before we talk about a very, very charismatic speaker, Dr. Devi, I want to really applaud here, Dr. Amisha. I was there at their inaugural chapter function, and I just can't imagine what they have done in the last 4 years. So I just want to give a big applaud. I want everyone to applaud New York Metro. It is really, we are so proud of you. So thank you. Now about Dr. Devi, you've seen that clip. I don't know what else I can say. You know, I just say, wow. You know, I saw her first time on the TV when she was talking about marijuana use in medical conditions. And when I saw her, I said, oh, it's an Indian girl. I'm so proud. And my daughter next to me says, Mom, aren't you very happy about seeing Indians? I said, yes, I am, because it's Indians who make medical society everywhere in the US proud. So give a big applaud to all physicians here, especially women physicians. You know, I want a big applause for women physicians of Indian heritage. Now let's talk about how Dr. Devi got into medical field. At the age of 16, actually, Dr. Devi was suffering from some viral infection, and as a result of it, she was 30 days in the pediatric ICU, and she had been suffering from pain that time a lot. She was in and out of pediatric ICUs all the time, and then after that, she had realized that she really wants to go into pain management. And we are very proud of her that after finishing her high school, she was actually elected class president and graduated from our local New York area, Ardsley High School, and she has a place in the school's wall of fame. And from the high school, they actually present an award to the students in her honor who actually have suffered from some substantial adversity as she had due to her medical issues. Then she went to Northwestern College. She got a BA, MD program, and then she went to Harvard University. And from there she finished her residency and also pain management residency, internal medicine and pain management. But you would be surprised, she was the only woman graduate at that time in that program. So extremely proud of you, Devi, again. And I would like to invite you, our most charismatic speaker of the day, Dr. Devi. Can we have a big hand for her?
Thank you so much, Dr. Jane, for those kind words. Thank you, all of you, for coming, especially this early in the morning for this event. I'm so excited to be part of this. It's a real privilege. I don't have enough time to thank all of the organizers and the volunteers, but in particular, I just want to thank Ali and Juhi. Ali I've known for a few years, and I'm really surprised that she's actually not one of the speakers herself. She's such a leader in the community, but hopefully she'll join us during the Q&A to answer some stuff and add her expertise. Oh, sorry, I just realized I just need this slide advancer for a second. I think we moved it.
It's slide advancer is not working, so if you just want to look at, you said to look at Ami when you want to.
Oh, okay, sorry, I thought there was the remote control. Okay, sorry about that. So, all right, so just back on our topic, you know, a lot of people just ask me, how did I get involved with Oz or with any of these particular activities? Some of it was chance. I mean, I think everybody who meets with some success, luck plays a role, but I guess the most critical part is to actually create the circumstances or create the situation that allows you to be prepared when luck kind of shows up. So my talk is really going to be focusing on some of those things, and particularly just some of the failures. You know, I think it's easy to talk about success, but it's a little bit harder to talk about when you have a failure or when things are not looking that good, how to actually recover from that and turn it into a success. So the first thing I wanted to show was just a study. This came out last year, just 2012 in June, and it showed that there's still significant gender differences in terms of the salaries between males and females in medicine. Now this was a really powerful study because in the past, people used to say that maybe some of the differences are related to women working fewer hours, choosing specialties that are less lucrative. Maybe they actually take time off to have kids, or they work part-time, and these things might actually contribute to some of the salary gap differences. But what we actually found, this isn't my study, but in this JAMA study, they found that even for people who are doing research, where the salary should be somewhat standard, none of those things matter. It's just purely salary related or gender related. So this is a very disturbing study. Now, if we go on to look at other fields, sorry. So if we just go on to other fields, let's look at business or management. How does that actually play a role? So there was a study done in the Harvard Business Review. And here they looked at people who were MBAs. So they actually looked at males and females. They looked at people who were in leadership development programs and mentorship programs. And they looked to see what might be the difference there. Well, one of the things that came up is that both males and females were involved in these different leadership development programs. Both of them did all these different assignments and were paired with someone who was successful in the field. But one of the factors that actually made a difference was mentorship versus sponsorship. So mentorship is a situation where you have a leader who gives you assignments, tells you what needs to be done, and may give you advice about how to succeed. Sponsorship is something different. It's basically where at a key moment, when there's a key opportunity to have someone recommend you for a position, a highly visible position, to have you actually get your name out there. In those types of situations, leaders were more likely to recommend men than women. So what happened, we could just keep advancing, sorry. We could just keep advancing. So in these different, and one more. So with these different opportunities, what they found was that men usually got those high visibility positions, and women really received more coaching and more advice from their mentors. So they spent more time doing these assignments for sure, but it didn't really lead anywhere.
That's very true.
Slide, please.
Very true.
All right, so just to go back, I told you I'd tell you about some of my successes and failures. So just to give you a little bit more information, after everything that I had been through, when I came out of all of this in high school, I really felt like, okay, I have two things. One, I have a purpose, so I have a desire to do something. I wanted to have an impact. And the other thing is that I learned, people, they declared defeat a little too early. It's not worth saying that you've lost everything right at the beginning, so just to try to persevere. So my feeling at first was that I would do medicine and research. I wanted to do both. So I immediately got involved in a couple different things. I did basic science research related to Alzheimer's. I did a lot of clinical research and economics research. I was also an economics major, so I looked at gender disparities in terms of the dowry system. What does that do in India? And we found that dowry actually contributes to some female infanticide, especially in rural, poorer areas. People would rather have a male child, and this contributes to things. So I looked at that and I thought these are ways that I could have an impact. All right, and then ultimately my main goal as I advanced through medical school, through residency and fellowship, is I decided, in pain management, really want to integrate all these different things. I want to find out how can our patients find relief. That's really the question that I had and what I wanted to answer, whether it was through research or seeing patients one at a time. All right, so things look pretty promising at first. I mean, I had gone to Northwestern, I had gone to Harvard for training. I thought, okay, everything's gonna be great and I'm gonna have a career that goes like this, straight up, kind of diagonal. But then the reality hits, no, that's not how life actually works, and maybe it's more like a sine wave. So, next slide, please. So I had my first job, yes, which I found intolerable. It was I won't get into all the details, but I had my first job as an attending. I thought I was going to do research and everything there. That didn't quite work out. So it wasn't an impulsive decision, it was a very deliberate decision, but I decided I can't work here anymore. And I thought I had lined something else up, but that didn't totally work out. So I quit this job, and even now we know it's hard to get a job that you want in the job market, right? But it's especially hard if you don't have a job to begin with. And you've already quit your first job, pretty soon afterwards. You look relatively unstable and unreliable. So things are looking a little bit bleak. So that's kind of one of the low points. And then I could tell you how things kind of came up after that. So next slide, please. I saw this opportunity within this crisis. Next slide again. And these are always, oh, sorry, some of the images didn't come up, but this is supposed to be a picture of the soldiers coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan. I saw something where essentially they had an opportunity for people, this was out in Fresno, California, the VA system, and because it was the VA, they were a little bit more open to having people, they had a lot of soldiers coming back and they needed people to work there, and it was a PM&R job. It wasn't pain, which is what I had trained in necessarily. I was a physiatrist though, so I thought, okay, well, at least I have this Massachusetts license and everything. It's the VA. I'll be able to go out there. I'll work there for a few months and see what happens. And one of the things that I found just kind of looking at this is that a lot of the people who were out there had chronic pain. They had a lot of different problems. So I was there to do PM&R, and I told a lot of people, I see these like disturbing patterns in terms of pain management and pain problems. Is there any way we could work together on a study, maybe to look at this a little bit further? I'll do most of the work, but maybe it would be interesting. So being sort of a pariah at that time, that didn't really turn into much. I couldn't get anybody. I asked 5 people if they wanted to be part of this, mentors on the study, and it didn't really work out. But then I decided to do it myself. So next slide, please. So the images aren't coming up, but it actually turned into a JAMA publication. So I got published in JAMA for a systematic review, and that's when things changed, because it looked a little bit surprising to people that I got that study done by myself, and then that led to other things as well. Next slide, please. So I went to the VA in New York. This is in upstate New York. They saw my work and they said, okay, well, we don't know why you're working as a contractor out there. Why don't you come over here and come work for us, as our director of pain management? So, this is the same type of thing, out of something that looked like a crisis, suddenly an opportunity presented itself. So I came back here, New York is my home, and I was working in the suburbs, again, doing pain management, but I had really trained in interventional pain management, and this job didn't have that. So I tried to look at, again, the opportunities. Now, I was working in Hudson Valley, and the Bronx VA, I noticed, had a lot of these different resources, whether it was ORs, whether they had our equipment, whether they had the staffing that was trained to do these types of procedures. So I tried to look for an opportunity there as well. And ultimately, I went to the administration and I said, well, right now, all these patients in Hudson Valley, they could have treatment that could help them, but they're not able to get it because we don't have the facilities. The Bronx has the facilities, but they don't have anyone who's doing these procedures. And for my own part, I have the skills, but I'm not able to do the procedures either. So I try to think of a win-win-win situation. So that's basically, I would say that's my greatest advice, to look at a problem and try to see, how can you make this work for you? So I went to the different administrations. I said to Hudson Valley, listen, why don't I drive to the Bronx VA 1 day a week, and we'll tell the patients, I'll see the patients here in Hudson Valley, we'll tell them to drive there, or take the shuttle there, or whatever else. I'll do the cases for them there, and then I'll see them here, back in Hudson Valley again. And then I went to the Bronx VA, I said, listen, I'm gonna do these cases for you for free, and essentially, I'm gonna bring patients here for free, and you're gonna get funding from the National VA office for taking care of all of these veterans. So all you have to do is give me the space that you already have. And then I went to the patients and said the same thing. Listen, I'm gonna do these cases for you. All you have to do is take a shuttle down to meet me, and I'll see you back in Hudson Valley again for all the follow-ups and everything else. Well, everybody was a little skeptical about whether the other 2 parties would agree to this. But in the end, it looked like a win-win-win for everyone, and it happened. So that's how I started treating patients and got back to doing interventional pain management after this rocky road. And then ultimately, next slide please. Then ultimately the Manhattan VA, I apologize, I'm not sure why the pictures aren't showing up, but then ultimately the Manhattan VA called me. This is our major referral center here in New York, and they said, oh, we've seen some of the work that you've been doing, and we want to invite you to come down here to actually work for us. So next slide. So, I went there, and one of the things I learned, all of this was kind of a learning experience, basically. One of the things I learned is you have to look at everybody else that's involved in a situation. So you can't just look at what you want and what you want to do. So I kind of looked at what was happening there, and the first thing I noticed is, who's doing the pain cases right now? Well, there was an interventional radiologist that they had as a contractor. This is kind of similar to what I was doing in Fresno. And this lady was paid to do the different cases. So she was being paid a fortune for the pain cases, And what they wanted me to do was bring down the costs. That was their number one priority. Bring down these costs by taking the cases away from her and doing them yourself because you're the salaried physician. So one thing I learned, this is a Maya Angelou quote actually, whining just alerts a bully that a victim is in the vicinity. So I could have complained about this setup, these starting circumstances are not ideal for anything, but I tried to think about it also from her point of view. So then I went to her, which she was already a little bit hostile even before we met, because she knew this plan. And I said to her, listen, I need support to get all these different things here at this hospital. I need all kinds of staffing, I need other things, and you are going to be my number one supporter at all of these meetings. So she was like, why would I ever support you? And then I said, because, we have these 2 rooms, and I'm going to ask for all this equipment. I'm going to ask for everything that would help you with all your vascular cases. Not your spine cases, but your vascular cases. And that way, when I'm in clinic seeing patients, you are going to basically use both rooms. You'll double your salary, or close to double it, in terms of doing all these vascular cases for diabetics, amputees, cancer patients, whatever else. And meanwhile, you're going to give me all the spine cases without, much difficulty. So we were at the board meeting, and that's exactly what she did. She said she's so excited to have me. I'm going to take all the spine cases. She'll send all her patients my way. And everybody in the hospital was pretty surprised, but no one was objecting to me getting this equipment and getting this stuff done. So, So I guess, for these types of things, what I would say is, in terms of leadership, I'm kind of a quiet person. I'm not necessarily somebody who goes out there to say different things. I'm not very loud or outspoken that way. But I would say that the main thing is to look at your opportunities and to really, when things look bad, try to figure out how can you get something to work for you? What opportunity is there that's available? To say one other thing before time is up. I'll just move on a little bit faster. So maybe. All right, so the pictures are missing, but I'll just tell you. So Sandy happened, actually, and then that was another crisis that occurred. So essentially, I had been setting up this practice at the VA. I had applied for a grant. I was really looking forward to everything, and I thought everything would be perfect. Well, like I said, it's all about success and failure, kind of navigating this sine wave of life. So Hurricane Sandy hit, hospital closed, my research grant was worthless, the application was worthless because we didn't have the facilities to do this anymore. But then, and I was also, actually I was homeless or displaced because my building was closed at the same time, so I was traveling around to all these VAs, and essentially at that time, in the middle of all this chaos, is when I got a phone call, hey, we read about your work in brain injury. This is CNN. We're wondering if you could come and talk about football-related concussions and stuff. And I had done a little bit of work with some of these other documentaries, like Ending Women's Pain is the name of one of them. So suddenly, life took a different path. So I would say, those are my parting words. I guess don't declare defeat too early on. And if things look like failures, they may not be. It may be just an opportunity for something else.